Mission Impossible Fallout was directed by Christopher McQuarrie and stars Tom Cruise. Yeah, that's about the only technical information you'll receive from me for the entirety of this video. Moving on, when I went to see this movie, I had high expectations. The trailers, for one, well, they kinda wowed me. As well as taking into account the success of the previous film, Rogue Nation, this movie had a lot to not only live up to, but to prove as well. And by God, this must be the best Mission Impossible movie I have ever seen. Hell, it's probably the best action movie I've ever seen. Why, you ask? Well, let's find out. Now, as I said, there'll be no technical aspects gone over this video, but I do want to go over one key thing that I noticed. This movie gave me a visceral experience. Let me repeat that. Visceral experience. The action felt heavy and real, the stunts had impact, and the entire action landscape felt like a well-oiled machine that never once faltered, even on multiple viewings. I mean, I've seen this thing 3 times in theaters. But much? Probably, but
worth it.
So my question is this. Fallout is the first mission film to be directed by a returning director, that of Christopher McQuarrie returning from Rogue Nation, making what's essentially a direct sequel to that film. So if it's a sequel, and if it's directed by the same guy, why didn't I get the same visceral experience when I saw Rogue Nation? This has plagued me ever since I saw the movie and then subsequently went to go and re-watch Rogue Nation. Everyone ranted and raved about Rogue Nation being the best mission they've ever seen when it came out, but I was never particularly blown off of my proverbial seat when I saw it like I was with Fallout. Sure, the story was good, the action was well directed, it looked sleek and, well, sexy, but it wasn't, and again, I'm returning to this word, visceral. So why is that? Well, after laying up and worrying about this inconsequential question for countless nights, I think I may have come up with a couple of reasons as to why this is the way it is. So in order to break this down, I'd like to take a look at 2 scenes from the 2 movies. The torture room fight scene from Rogue Nation and the bathroom fight scene from Fallout. Both these scenes have great direction, great cinematography, blah blah blah, but one is good and one is great. Let's dissect these 2 scenes. In the torture room scene in Rogue Nation, as well as in the rest of that film, McQuarrie uses close-up shots to maneuver around the fight scenes as well as quicker cuts. It's never overdone, nor is it used to hide the stunt work, but nevertheless, that's the style used. Taking a look at the bathroom fight scene in Fallout, however, as well as the rest of that film, wider shots are used, showing more of the action for longer with fewer cuts. It's obvious that McQuarrie's style, or rather process of filming action, changed between the 2 films. Now, neither one is wrong, but one is more impactful and again, visceral than the... You know what, I'm using that word way too much. The style plays a huge role in the experience and realism you undertake when watching the 2 films. Take another example. This shot here. Ouch! I remember the entire audience wincing when that happened. I mean, verbally exclaiming. But why? Surely we've seen people getting smacked in the head before in movies, right? Correct, we have, but in this case, we're shown a huge wide shot. Not cutting, not faltering. By seeing the hit like this, the possibility of perceiving it as fake is considerably less because A, they didn't cut away to hide the prop, and B, they didn't use a close-up shot to hide the stuntman. It's this kind of open and wide filmmaking that's present throughout the entire film, something that was missing from Rogue Nation. You see, Rogue Nation is filmed in a more standard type of way, using quicker cuts and close-ups to film the action, while Fallout ropes that camera back and says, look, we have nothing to hide, indulge in this grandeur. And damn, is it grand. So we can see why it's different from the previous missions, but how does it hold up against other popular action films? Enter John Wick. Mention the words action and stunt work in the same sentence nowadays and I can guarantee you that John Wick comes up in the conversation. And for good reason. Keanu Reeves, like Tom Cruise, does all his own stunts and the direction in the first John Wick film particularly is quite solid. But Fallout's still better. Now I know a lot of this can easily come down to personal preference and opinions, but in my defense, this video is titled Best Action Movie. Therefore, we're looking strictly at the action filmmaking on display in these films. And when it comes to action filmmaking, Fallout takes the cake. I'm not saying in any way that John Wick has bad action, in fact it's miles above half of the other trash that comes out nowadays, but when you compare it to something like Fallout, well, it doesn't really match up. An action scene needs to have 3 particular aspects in place for me to personally consider it good: choreography, movement, and sound design. Now the choreography and movement in most action scenes these days is possible, to say the least. In both John Wick and Fallout, they're top notch. But to look at the precision of John Wick's choreography compared to the brutality of Fallout's wouldn't be fair, as they're completely different styles. One is slower and more deliberate, while the other is fast and rough. So let's focus on fight sound design for now. Here's John Wick's. As you can see, it's muted by music and barely noticeable, whereas with Fallout, it's front and center and so well done that it's basically its own character. Now this is a poor choice on the side of the filmmakers, not emphasizing it and muting it out with heavy music, but it makes such a big difference. Having those swishes of the clothes and crunches of the punches, rhyming intended, impacts you, and when you top that off with being able to clearly see it in beautiful wide shots, you've got yourself a damn good fight scene. For reference, let's compare the same bathroom fight scene from Fallout to, let's see here, some random fight scene from a CW TV show such as, I don't know, Arrow. Yeah, that's like laughable. Don't get me started on these damn superhero shows. Whew. So sound design is key, but what else makes it truly great? The story is tight and not overcomplicated. There's a time and place for twists and turns, which this movie definitely has, but again, this is about the action. Let's move on to the Arc de Triomphe scene. Here we have Tom Cruise on a motorcycle with no helmet, no wires or cables, driving headfirst into oncoming traffic like an absolute badass. What? I know that this is the same guy who hung onto the wing of an airplane, but this really does require its own kind of crazy. So we have Cruise on a bike, the real guy, not a stuntman, driving against traffic, shot once again in those beautiful wides with long takes and little cutting. Impact and realism is the name of the game here. It's why this scene is so well directed and so nail-biting. Where other movies expect you to be in suspense when 2 giant CG characters are fighting, this movie understands that to fear for the character needs to be in real danger. And when I say real danger, I mean real danger. Tom Cruise is a maniac. There are so many more scenes that follow this formula of real stunt work shot wide, the insane halo jump scene, the bonkers cliff fighting scene. Do I even need to mention the helicopter chase in which Tom Cruise flies a real helicopter through the mountains? What was that? You get the point? In an age where the majority of films hitting theaters are fake green screen messes, it's so nice to see a film that buckles up and does things in a fresh and real way. It treats you maturely and gives you a rush of adrenaline and pure action without sacrificing story, and most importantly, without dumbing itself down. Look, I understand that there's a time and place for CGI, but nowadays, people treat it as the only option. For example, another of 2018's big action movies was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Skyscraper. Look at this clip here of the director of that film talking about that supposedly, I don't know, amazing and wow crane jump moment. Just take a look.
The other thing to talk about here, we shot this on a stage, and the only thing that's real in this entire frame is the actual super crane itself, which you can see right here. And this little guy right here, that's Dwayne Johnson.
The guy seems truly chuffed that almost everything in that scene is fake. CGI is common nowadays, too common. So why are you so proud that you didn't put the effort in to film something in a real way when you clearly have a huge budget? The point I'm trying to make here is that in a sea of average action films that do it like everyone else does, one stepped out. One challenged the system and made something truly great. It's fun, but at the same time, quality fun. And at the end of the day, isn't that what going to the movies is all about? Well guys, that was my first ever video essay. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it, because I probably had too much fun making it. I really enjoyed making it, and from the bottom of my heart, I hope that you guys enjoy it, because I would really like to do more of these video essays on the channel, because I've got a lot to talk about, a lot of opinions about certain films, TV shows, and basically film in general. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more of these type of videos, leave it in the comments below. Tell me about it. Tell me your opinions on this topic. Tell me other videos you want me to make about these type of things, such as movies, TV shows, any ideas you might have. Throw it in the comments down below, as well as leave a like on this video, share it, subscribe. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers right now. I can practically taste it. Remember to turn on notifications down below so you get notified the millisecond that a brand new video comes out, if Google allows it. And before I sign off guys, let me just say it one more time. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, because if you enjoyed it, and if I enjoyed it, which I definitely did, the meeting of those forces is something to be reckoned with. But yeah, what else is there to say really? I guess all we have to do now is light the fuse.